Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien Universe. The cold wind howled across the desert moon of Drexos 9. Sharp red sand blew through the air like knives. Among the rusted metal tents of the raider camp, deep in the back, stood a row of cages, each one holding someone broken, lost, or forgotten. But, in the last cage, sat a princess. Her name was Zirella of House Viel, daughter of the great matron queen of the Vailari Empire. Her golden skin was covered in bruises. Her royal gown was torn. Her once beautiful wings now hung weak and dusty. She looked nothing like the proud heir to a powerful alien dynasty. She had not spoken in 2 days. One raider threw old water at her feet. "Still quiet, royalty?" He laughed. "Maybe you'll sing when we sell you." Zirella didn't reply. She didn't even blink. Her eyes stared through the bars into the dry red sky. She had once flown above such worlds, worshipped, honored, and feared. Now she was nothing but a trophy. All she had left was silence. That night the stars above the camp shimmered strange. A small prisoner transport ship landed, dust swirling beneath it. 2 guards dragged out a beaten man in broken armor. He was bleeding from his mouth but still trying to walk. He wasn't big, he wasn't glowing. He looked weak compared to the towering alien guards. He was human. Zirella looked at him for only a second. Then she turned her eyes away. She had heard stories. Humans were wild things, primitive, dangerous, not fit for the stars. "Throw him," and with the others, a raider shouted. "Let him rot." They chained him to a metal post across from her cage. His face was dusty, his armor burned, but something in his eyes stayed sharp. Hours passed. No one spoke. Then, a whisper. "Hey." Zirella opened her eyes. The human was looking at her. "You're the princess, right?" he asked quietly. She didn't reply. He smiled through a cracked lip. "Your dress is shiny, even with all the dust." Still no answer. "I'm Mason," he said. "Sergeant, Earthborn." Zirella spoke at last. Her voice was dry. "Why are you talking to me?" "Because you're the only one not growling or spitting." She blinked slowly. "You'll die soon." Mason tilted his head. "Probably, but not here." She stared at him. "They break everyone, even Vailari warriors." "I'm not a Vailari," he said simply. "I'm human." She narrowed her eyes. "And what does that mean?" He smiled again. "It means I don't break." Later that night, guards laughed and drank around the fires. The raider camp was loud, wild, cruel. Zirella closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Then she heard it, a small metal click. She looked. Mason was doing something to his wrist, very slowly, carefully. His chains unlocked with a quiet snap. He looked up and whispered, "You ready to leave?" She stared at him. "You're serious?" "I didn't come here to die," he said. "I came here to rescue someone. Didn't know it'd be you." Zirella crawled to the bars. "You can't escape. There are drones, turrets, beasts. I've handled worse." She grabbed the cage bars. "Why would you save me?" Mason moved closer, his face now serious. Calm. "Because the galaxy needs people like you alive." She hesitated, then asked softly, "Can you really get me out?" He nodded. "But once the gate opens, everything will burn." She swallowed hard. Her royal pride had kept her quiet. But now, for the first time in days, she felt something again. Hope. Mason took a deep breath, then whispered, "Tonight, we make the stars remember your name." The moon was silent, not the peaceful kind of silent, the kind before a storm. The raiders drank, laughed, and fought beside their fires. Most had no idea what was about to happen. A few guards walked lazy circles, bored and tired, and beneath them all, hidden in shadows and dirt, a human soldier was unlocking hell. Mason moved like smoke, slow, careful, invisible. He had studied the camp from his cage, every drone path, every weapon rack, every blind spot. Now, with a small tool hidden in his boot, he unlocked one gate after another. Quiet, quick, deadly. In her cage, Princess Zarella watched from the shadows. Her breath held. Her heart raced. Was he really doing it? She expected noise. Explosions. A fight. But this was surgical, until he was seen. A drunk raider stumbled out of the shadows and froze. "You..." Mason didn't blink. In one smooth motion, he grabbed the alien's head and slammed it against the cage bars. The body dropped, silent. Zarella's eyes widened. This man didn't move like a savage. He moved like a weapon. Mason reached her cage. His fingers trembled, not from fear but pain. His side was still bleeding from the last raid. "You still want out?" he whispered. Zarella nodded. "Yes." He unlocked the cage. The door creaked open. For the first time in days, Zarella stepped out. Free. "Stay behind." "Me," Mason said. "And when I run, don't stop." She didn't argue. Not anymore. He led her between tents and rusted vehicles. They passed cages full of other prisoners. Some stared in shock. Some whispered. One old alien muttered, "That's a human." Then, a loud beep. Mason looked up. A security drone. It spotted them and flashed red. The alarm screamed. Lights flared. Zarella gasped. "We're caught!" Mason didn't wait. He grabbed her hand and ran. "Don't stop!" he shouted. Guards poured. Out of tents, weapons in hand. Blaster shots flew past them. Zarella ducked. Mason rolled and threw a small round object. Boom! A fireball lit the sky. Tents burned. Screams filled the air. The camp became chaos. Mason led her through smoke and shadows, but more guards came. Too many. Zarella picked up a fallen blaster. Her hands shook. "You ever used one?" Mason asked. She nodded once. "I was trained. As a child." "Then shoot." She fired. Missed. Fired again. Hit a raider in the leg. They reached the outer wall. A steel gate blocked them. Mason pulled a second device from his belt. "Step back." Zarella grabbed his arm. "That's a detonator." "I know. You'll blow yourself up." He smiled faintly. "Only a little." Boom! The wall exploded outward. Stars lit the sky. The desert wind howled, and beyond the smoke, freedom. They ran until their legs gave out. In a rocky canyon, far from the burning camp, they collapsed under a ledge. Zarella fell to her knees, breathing hard. She looked at Mason. "Why did you save me?" He leaned against the stone, clutching his side. "Because someone had to." "But you didn't even know me." He looked into her eyes. "I don't need to know you to know you're worth saving." She stared at him. "You're not what I expected from a human." He chuckled. "You're not what I expected from a princess." For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then she whispered, "Thank you." And for the first time, her voice didn't sound like royalty. It sounded real. The desert was gone. Now they were deep inside the wild zone, a twisted alien jungle full of glowing trees, red mist, and strange sounds that didn't belong to any known creature. Princess Zarella stepped carefully through thick vines that shimmered like glass. Her torn dress dragged behind her, heavy with dust. Her wings were weak, but she pushed forward, following the human who had saved her life. Mason didn't speak much. He kept his eyes sharp, scanning every tree, every sound, every shadow. They were being hunted. Hours earlier, a dark ship hovered over the burning ruins of the raider camp. From it stepped a bounty commander, 7 feet tall with cold silver skin and 4 glowing eyes. He sniffed the air like a predator. The human escaped, and he took the princess. Another alien soldier asked, "Should we alert the Empire?" No, the commander growled. She is worth a fortune. We'll catch them first and sell her ourselves. He raised a tracker device. A blinking dot moved slowly across a green map. Let the hunt begin. Now, alien jungle. Nightfall Zarella sat near a small blue fire Mason had built under a rock outcrop. She watched him silently. His hands worked fast, building traps with sticks, wiring broken tech, checking weapons. He was hurt. The bandage on his ribs was soaked with blood. Still, he didn't complain. She whispered, "You should rest." He looked at her for a moment, then shook his head. They're close. She moved beside him. You can't fight like this. I can't let them take you again. His words stunned her. No one had ever said that to her. Not even her guards, not even her own family. She looked down. Why do you care so much? Mason answered without turning. Because I know what it feels like, to be thrown away. The first attack, a sharp whistle cut through the jungle. Mason grabbed Zarella and pushed her down just before a blaster bolt shot past her head. 3 bounty hunters dropped from the trees, weapons ready. Zarella raised her blaster. Her hands shook. Mason was already moving, dodging between trees, throwing a smoke bomb. The clearing turned into chaos. Zarella fired, missed, then hit. 1 bounty hunter screamed and fell. The others rushed forward. Mason tackled one, broke its arm and used its weapon to finish the other. Silence returned. Zarella stood frozen, breathing hard. I killed one. Mason stepped over to her. Good. That means we live another night. Later, the conversation they found, shelter in a tree hollow high above the ground. Zarella sat beside Mason in the dark, staring at the stars above the mist. She whispered, Do humans always fight like this? No, he said softly. Only when we're protecting something important. She asked, Do you see me as important? He looked at her. His voice was low. You were important long before I met you. You just didn't know it. Her eyes welled up with something she didn't expect. Tears. Not of pain, not of fear, but of being seen. The final scene down below in the jungle mist, more red lights began to move. The bounty commander had arrived. He saw the smoke from Mason's fire. He smiled, razor-sharp teeth showing. No more running, human, he whispered. Up above, Zarella touched Mason's shoulder. I'm not going to run anymore, she said. He nodded. Good. Because below them, the hunters were coming, and the war between a wounded human and a greedy empire was just getting started. The night was quiet, but not safe. In the hollow of a massive tree-like structure, Mason sat against the yard wall, breathing slowly. His armor chest plate was off, his bandage was soaked again. Blood had begun to leak through. Zarella watched from across the small shelter, her sharp violet eyes full of worry. You're bleeding again, she said softly. Mason didn't answer. He looked exhausted, almost broken. Zarella slowly walked over and knelt beside him. She reached into a small pack they had taken from the raiders, a basic medical kit. I need to treat your wound, she said. He shook his head. It's fine. It's not, she replied. You won't survive another fight like this. Reluctantly, Mason leaned back and allowed her to undo the bandage. What she saw made her freeze. His chest wasn't just wounded, it was covered in scars. Some were deep and long, some old and faded, some still fresh. His body told a story, one of pain, one of battles fought, survived, and carried. Zarella's hand hovered over his skin, trembling. You've suffered so much, she whispered. Mason opened his eyes. His voice was low. Pain teaches you 2 things, who you are and who you're not. She met his eyes. Why do you keep going? He smiled faintly. Because the day I stop, they win. Flashback, his past, told through his words, as thou. Zarella cleaned his wounds. Mason spoke slowly. I was trained on Earth, not in castles or towers, in dirt, in heat, with no food. No water, only fire and noise. We were taught to run until we collapsed, then get up and run again. He looked away. Most didn't make it, Zarella asked. Why put yourself through that? Because someone has to stand when others can't. She stayed silent for a long time. Then she said, I was raised in silk chambers. My hands never touched weapons. I spoke in courts and danced for nobles, but not once did I feel strong. Looked down at her hands. Now I do. With you. Later. That night, the rain outside fell soft against the leaves. Mason rested, his eyes closed. Zarella sat beside him, watching him sleep. She had called humans savages once, loud, violent, wild. But this man, this soldier, had more control than anyone she had ever met. He didn't need to speak like royalty. He didn't need to shine like nobility. His scars were his crown. Morning comes, Zarella woke to the smell of smoke. She rushed out of the shelter. Mason was already up, standing by a burning tracker drone. He had found it and destroyed it quietly. No, we're here, he said. She nodded. Then we move. But he was limping badly now. Zarella walked beside him, supporting his arm over her shoulders. He gave her a surprised look. I thought you didn't like touching humans, he joked. She smiled. I was wrong about many things. As they moved deeper into the jungle, the bounty commander's voice crackled through a distant speaker. You can run, human, but she belongs to us. Mason looked back once, face calm, eyes burning. She belongs to no one, he whispered. And beside him, the alien princess, once helpless, once proud, stood tall, a blaster in her hands and a fire in her heart. They were no longer prisoner and protector. They were partners, and the hunters were about to learn what that meant. Lightning flashed in the red sky. The jungle trees bent under storm winds. Rain fell hard, glowing faint blue in the alien light. Ahead of them, hidden beneath a mound of twisted roots and broken vines, lay an ancient wreck, an old Violari diplomatic ship, half buried, long forgotten. This is it, Mason said, breath short. Zarella looked at the broken metal with disbelief. This was one of ours, sent during the war years ago. We thought it was lost forever. Not lost, Mason replied. Waiting. They pulled open a side hatch. Dust and cold air spilled out. Inside was darkness, but also shelter. Inside the wreck, Zarella lit a small lantern from a control panel. The ship interior flickered to life. Barely. The walls were cracked, moss-covered, and dripping with water. But there was power in the core. Enough to charge a few weapons. Enough to make a stand. Mason sat in the cockpit, hacking old systems, with stolen gear. We can't run anymore, they're too close, so we make this our last stand. Zarella watched him. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. You're still injured, she said. He didn't stop working. So are they. Outside, the enemy arrives. The bounty commander stepped through the jungle, flanked by 10 hunters. They were tall, armored, deadly. The commander grinned when he saw the ship. So that's where they hide? He raised his weapon. Burn them out. The first wave blaster fire hit the hull like thunder. Sparks flew. Inside, Mason handed Zarella a weapon. You trained, right? She nodded. Long ago, with weak targets. These won't be weak. He took position behind a broken console. Zarella crouched beside a shattered window. The first bounty hunter climbed into the ship. Zarella shot him in the throat. She stared in shock, then fired again. Mason smiled. Now you're getting it. The turning point. The attackers rushed the front hatch. Mason threw a pulse grenade. The hallway exploded with light. 2 hunters down. Zarella moved fast now, sliding between broken beams, firing like a soldier. They fought side by side, breath by breath, inch by inch. Mason took a hit to the arm, but didn't fall. Zarella's wing was clipped by flying metal, but she didn't scream. She covered him as he fell behind a wall. He laughed through the pain. You're getting better than me. Zarella looked at him, eyes fierce. I had a good teacher. Final confrontation. Only one enemy remained. The bounty commander stepped into the ship, dragging a giant plasma axe behind him. You've made this fun, human, he growled. Mason stood slowly. Last chance to walk away. The commander laughed. You're broken. She's weak. This ship is your grave. Zarella raised her blaster. You think I'm weak? She fired. But the commander swatted the shot aside. He charged. Mason tackled him, blade in hand. They crashed through a wall into the old engine room. Zarella chased after them, heart pounding. Inside, fire and steam filled the room. Mason fought hard, but the commander was stronger. Zarella screamed, Mason! She picked up a metal rod and drove it into the commander's back. He howled and turned, but Mason had the chance. One shot. Straight through the heart, the bounty hunter dropped. Aftermath. Mason fell to his knees. Blood ran down his face. He was shaking. Zarella dropped beside him, holding him up. You did it, she said, her voice shaking. We did it, he whispered. Her eyes filled with tears. Not from fear, not from sadness, but from everything he had given for her. She held his face, trembling. Why do you keep risking yourself? He looked at her and said softly, because somewhere out there, someone like you needs to live. And then he passed out. Zarella held him close, rain dripping from the broken ceiling. For the first time in her royal life, she cried, not because she was helpless, but because he wasn't. And the man who had saved her again and again was now the one she had to save. Smoke curled in the air like ghostly fingers. The rain outside had stopped, but inside the broken ship everything felt still. Too still. Zarella knelt beside Mason's limp body. His chest barely rose. His face was pale. Blood soaked the side of his shirt, and his arm dangled uselessly. The bounty commander was dead. The enemy was gone. But now the only one who mattered was slipping away. Inside the engine room, Zarella dragged his body away from the flickering power core, her hands shaking. She laid him down on a piece of broken metal and knelt beside him. No, 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 she whispered. Stay awake. His eyes fluttered open just a little. Still here, he murmured. Zarella placed her hand gently on his chest. You're not allowed to die yet. Mason tried to smile. Princess's orders? She nodded, blinking back tears. Yes. He coughed. Figures. She tries to save him. Zarella found the medkit. It was almost empty. Just one vial of pain serum, a single wound seal patch, and a cracked scanner. She pressed the patch against his side and injected the serum into his arm. He groaned, biting back pain. His hand caught hers. Weak. Cold. You're crying, he whispered. I know, she said softly. I've never seen a royal cry. She looked at him, voice trembling. I've never had a reason to before. The confession. She leaned closer, her fingers brushing dirt and blood from his face. I thought humans were nothing, she said. Loud, wild, reckless. I was raised to look down on your kind. He didn't answer, so she kept talking. But you gave everything to protect me. You bled for me. You burned their world to keep me breathing. Her voice cracked. I'm supposed to be the strong one. I'm a princess, but the truth is, she swallowed hard. You're stronger than anyone I've ever known. His eyes open. Again, Mason's voice was quiet, rough. You're stronger than you think. She shook her head. Not without you. Then fight for me. Tears ran down her cheeks. I am, she whispered. The rescue arrives. Suddenly a loud hum echoed through the jungle. Zarella looked up. From the clouds, a Velari royal ship descended, sleek, silver, and marked with the crest of her house. She gasped. They found us. Guards in bright armor rushed in. Princess Zarella, one shouted. We tracked your signal. They tried to lift Mason. She blocked them. "Be careful, he's hurt." A commander stepped forward. "He's a human, Your Grace." "I know," she said. "He shouldn't be brought aboard. It's against royal law." Zarella stood tall. Her voice was cold, clear, and final. "Then break the law." Aboard the ship, Mason was placed on a healing table. Medics rushed to save him. Zarella sat beside him, holding his hand, refusing to let go. The royal crew stared, confused. A few whispered, "Why is she so close to a human?" Others said, "He saved her. Maybe he's more than just a soldier." Zarella ignored them all. Hours later, the medics confirmed it. Mason would live. Weak, scarred, but alive. Zarella smiled for the first time in days. She leaned down, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "You saved me. Now it's my turn." Then she stood, turned to the royal guards, and said the words that made history. "This man is under royal protection. If you want to touch him, you go through me." Across the galaxy, whispers spread. The alien princess had cried for a human, had fought for him, had chosen him, and the Empire was about to decide, would they accept her decision, or fear the bond that had already changed everything? The royal palace of Vylari Prime had never felt this tense. Polished silver floors, floating banners, crystal lights glowing across the high chamber. Hundreds of noble eyes watched in silence as the doors opened. Two figures entered, not guards, not generals, but a human soldier and a princess with fire in her eyes. Zarella walked tall, every step strong. Her royal gown shimmered. Her bruises had healed, but the strength in her voice had never been sharper. Beside her, Mason walked slowly. His arm was in a sling. His face was calm, but his gaze was sharp. He wore simple dark armor. No medals, no weapons, just scars and history written into his skin. A royal whisper spread like wind through the court. "That's the human who saved her." Why is he in the royal hall? Is she protecting him? Is she choosing him? The trial. The High Council stood in a circle around them, 12 lords and 3 queens. Zarella's own mother sat on the throne, tall, proud, unreadable. A silver staff tapped the floor. "Speak, Princess Zarella," the elder counselor said. "Why have you broken tradition? Why have you brought a human into this sacred court?" Zarella looked around, voice calm. "Because he earned the right to stand here." Another voice cut through. "He is not Vylari. He is not royal. He is not even welcome on this world." Mason said nothing. He didn't need to. Zarella took one step forward. "He is more royal in his heart than any crown I've seen worn here." Gasps filled the chamber. "She tells the truth." Zarella raised her chin. "I was taken by slavers, beaten, caged, forgotten. None of you came for me. None of our guards protected me. I survived. Because of him." She turned to Mason. "He gave everything. His blood, his body, his strength. Not for glory, not for power, but to do the right thing." The hall fell silent. Zarella continued. "So now I ask, what does royalty mean? If not honor, courage, and sacrifice?" She looked straight at the throne. "And if this court will not accept him, then it doesn't deserve me." A shocking decision. The queen stood. Her voice echoed across the chamber. "You defy this court? For a human?" "I don't defy you," Zarella said. "I lead you just like I was raised to." Another long silence. Then, the queen sat back and whispered, "Then lead us." The staff tapped again. "Let it be recorded. Princess Zarella has invoked the ancient right of life claim. This human is now protected by royal decree." Some nobles cheered, others walked out. But the change had begun. After the storm later that evening, Mason stood alone on a high balcony, overlooking the lights of the royal city. Zarella joined him quietly. "You okay?" she asked. He smirked. "They didn't kill me. So yeah, I guess. She laughed softly. I still don't understand why you risked everything, he said. She looked at him, eyes warm. Because you showed me who I really was. Not just a royal, not just a symbol, but someone who can fight, feel, choose. Mason turned. And now? Zarella stepped closer. Now I choose you. Far across the stars, other empires began to speak the name of the human who stood among royalty. Some feared him, some respected him. But one thing was now certain. He had changed the galaxy, not with weapons, not with armies, but with heart, and beside him, a princess no longer in chains. They had mocked humanity, called them weak, wild, unworthy. But now, a single human stood where no alien ever thought one could. Beside a princess, inside, a palace and inside her heart, and the galaxy would never forget it.